It's always an exciting experience to watch the ticking of data unfolding before your eyes as you make progress toward your goals. So today in Project Zomboid, starting from one single tile, I'm going to use the Tile Man mod so that every time I kill a zombie, I unlock another tile. This challenge was based on the amazing one Arian did in Project Zomboid a few months ago, which was originally based on the Tile Man run by SRAM1337 and popularized by Settled in old school RuneScape. But when I tried it for myself on stream, one of my viewers named Brad, who's also a programmer, actually emailed me out of the blue with a mod he created that forces you to stay stuck in a tile until you kill a zombie. So after this video, I'd encourage you to go check out all those playthroughs in the mod in the description. But without any further ado, how long would I be able to survive? I spawned in on day 1 in the morning, 9 a.m., located on the ground floor of a house in Louisville, located in the midst of a dense residential community, with a few reanimated ghouls loitering outside my window. Equipped with only the clothes on my back, the only resources at my disposal were the books located in the shelf beside my starting square, but that was all I could reach. Pretty much useless. My first goal was to locate a weapon, then food, water, and a bedroom for sleeping, preferably with a secure door between me and the dead for when I got tired. But I'd need to expand out to the rest of the house with my tile radius, and that necessitated attracting only one zombie to break into my house, hopefully without alerting the whole horde outside. I called out to attract the attention of any ghouls nearby the house. Only one at first. A forest ranger I wrestled in hand-to-hand combat. With the first one dead and the first tile unlocked, now there was a little space to move around for inching my way toward the kitchen cabinets. Next, another ghoul drawn by the sound crawled through the window. Another wrestling match, and another tile closer to the cabinets. I equipped its leather jacket for protection from scratches. One by one, with another coming through the window, I now had a longer space to walk around in, and I could shout from farther back in the house. This would make sure I'd lead the undead in just one at a time. 1 and 2 more wrestling matches, and now I'd unlocked enough tiles to get a full inventory of the cabinets. Water. I can now use the tap to satisfy my thirst and store liquid in a tumbler from the cabinet beneath the sink. A few cans of food, but no weapon yet. But as luck would have it, there was a crowbar on the back of the next zombie that came through the windows. So now I had most of it, or at least temporarily. Food, water, and a weapon. But I still needed shelter for sleeping at night. The day was getting older. To unlock enough tiles to get to the bedroom upstairs, though, I need to inch my way toward the front door so I could attract their attention from the porch outside. I continued shouting from the back of the house to make sure I'd attract the undead in, only one by one. Any more and I'd get overwhelmed, and fast. So I downed 5 more of them, and I unlocked each of the last spaces to make my way out into the outdoor world. A new space, but with it came some perils. It was tricky. Whether through sight or sound, it would be easy to make a great noise to attract too many. So instead I whispered, or moved around, or attempted to just attract the attention of only one at a time, whispering to one nearby, or one who happened to be facing in my general direction, and I made a little room to fight them in the entryway. Then with a few more kills, I unlocked the tiles farther back toward the stairs, gradually making my way up to secure the bedroom that was clean and clear of corpses, and it would let me sleep safe from the undead. And it was well removed from any corpses in the downstairs that might cause me to grow sick from inhaling the air nearby. Having secured the basic necessities of food, water, shelter, and a weapon, or at least in the short term, I turned in for sleep around midnight. After a rest, on day 2 I awoke at 6 a.m. to a fog whose cover I used to lure in more ghouls one by one to my porch. The railway around the outside made for an effective screen I could use to get them to fall in and onto the floor in my very own kill box. To make it more effective, I stacked a chair and a television in the openings to force them over the banister, where it would be easier for me to take them out on the ground. Whispering through the fog and calling out, I attracted the few nearby and made safe the area by picking up the glass shards around the broken window through which they had first climbed into my starter house. But I was limited to close quarters, and I nearly made a fatal error when one of them lunged over the fence and scratched me, tearing a near-fatal wound in my neck, right when my guard was down and I'd finally secured some greater fortifications. But I bandaged, and I continued inching my way outward, a little more cautiously this time. Step by step, I made my way east, calling out ghouls one by one to dispatch them and unlock more tiles to get closer to the street corner and get a better look at my surroundings. But gradually, at least for the time being, my shouts were growingly ineffectual at drawing a tide. I was alone in my island of tiles, and if there were no more ghouls, I'd stagnate and remain stuck near my starter house. And so I slept on day 2, and arose on day 3 to wait for the zombies to wander closer to my neighborhood, where I had cleared so many in the days before. But the day was lonely, and I spent most of the time calling out, trying to attract the attention of any ghoul that might be standing nearby. The fact of the matter was that I just didn't have enough tiles to attract a horde, and I remained stuck on my island. And if I couldn't attract any, I'd perish in my home. But then it occurred to me when I was standing inside of the house, and a watch alarm sounded on one of the corpses. I struggled to locate it before it went off, but if I could gather enough digital watches on all the bodies, set their alarms at regular intervals, and place them together in a satchel I'd scavenged off of one of the ghouls, I could effectively be in multiple places at once, making noise. So I took the satchel with all the watches and their alarms set, and I placed it out on the street so that any passing ghoul would be lured into a noise trap. This way I could conserve energy and spread my net wider in my search for the undead, now that the length of my path had grown so much longer and more tenuous. Still, even then the watch alarms weren't loud enough, and new problems reared their ugly head. I was beginning to starve, and I couldn't even expand out my tile radius. But instead, I had to spend tiles creeping my path toward the fridge, only to be greeted by a few rotten leftovers. After a night of shouting to try to attract the attention of anything nearby that would hear me, I slept into day 5, knowing I'd need to find another way. I considered the resources and tools at my disposal. Through the fighting, I had managed to secure both a revolver and a shotgun from some of the riot officer zombies I'd taken out near the house. Originally, it seemed like a death sentence, ringing the dinner bell. But now, in an act of desperation, I shot one of my precious rounds off at 7 a.m. to signal all the nearby Zeds. Fighting them was a struggle, but it would grant me enough tiles to access the nearby station wagon, which I could use to honk the horn and finally secure a better way of making a louder noise to attract the undead. And I didn't rely on the precious few shells I had running out for my shotgun. In short, it worked. It was risky fighting them out in the open, but it gave me enough tiles to stretch my path all the way up to the car. But with a great victory also came a huge letdown. The car was totally jacked up. It couldn't start, and its horn didn't even work. I'd wasted so many tiles, stretching out in a direction that ultimately turned out to be useless. But I still had some food left, and I wasn't desperate, so I looked over my surroundings. If I wanted to make any progress, I'd still need a car horn to signal nearby Zeds. And the car parked in the driveway to the west looked more promising. Unfazed, I gathered back up my supplies and started yelling again in front of my house to get more ghouls to come over and unlock more tiles. I kept looting, and I even found thick, scratch-proof firefighter gear on a Zed in front of one of the houses. And so through the day, after a lot of struggling and clawing, by 5 p.m. I'd made my way at last to access the car door. As luck would have it, the car was in near perfect working order, with the key located in the glove compartment. With everything ready, I finally slammed on the horn and drew the whole horde nearby. Now the real challenge could begin. Not just tiptoeing from house to house anymore with precious few tiles, but instead pull whole swaths of them. So after I dispatched a few more, I started unlocking more tiles in the house to the west. And then I made my way inward to start searching for more food and weapons. My crowbar was now getting bent out of shape, and my food stockpiles were dwindling. Now I could focus on the longer-term battle, opening up and unlocking the entire world around me. So I fought my way into the dawn on day 6. I kept sounding the car horn, drawing a horde, fighting them, then unlocking more tiles to expand the whole network of them, lighting up beneath my feet everywhere I stepped. I carved out a triple-wide path from the driveway to start moving the car out into the street. So that was how I fought them, and then I slept into the afternoon on day 6. Now the hordes I drew with the car's horn were growing larger as I moved the car into uncleared territory, and I lured them over the fences near the houses so I could stomp them on the floor. I used their brainless shambling to my advantage and led them in a lineup from house to house, all the while staying safe while crushing them underfoot. At long last, I now had a surplus of tiles, making it easier to walk around freely. I ventured into a nearby house to collect more canned food. Finally, it started to feel like I could focus on my long-term aims. I had secured lots of food, water, and shelter. And so from day 6 into day 7, I continued repeating my pattern of attack. Run into the intersection, cry out aloud, and then lead the hordes of undead back to my porches where I could dispatch them one by one. I was racking up hundreds of kills, one by one unlocking new tiles to draw in more zombies and open up the rest of the world for more and more area as I grew stronger and stronger. It almost started to feel like I wasn't even limited to the tiles anymore, but I was just stuck with my own incapability, my own weakness. I needed to get stronger. Every day was a workout, and my exertion as well as my combat prowess rose. I was still overweight, but I was losing it rapidly. I unlocked wider paths in front of the house to make my job easier, and I fought and contended well into the 7th night, as I grew stronger and more capable, but still tired from the fighting. Then once again, for the last time, I returned home past midnight into the 8th day. 1 week gone by and I rested. Now at long last I could avail myself more amenities. Open the rest of the tiles in my bedroom, take the blood off my clothing, explore the rest of the house, unaffected by my prison of tiles. I even found extra supplies and another crowbar in the closet nearby. Now all the hard work was finally paying off. I fought a little more, and then I rested into the middle of the day, finally giving in to the warped circadian rhythm from fighting tooth and nail for so long. I slept at noon. But then, I arose at 5:50 p.m., stirred by a most unwelcome and hideous sound. The whirring, persistent chopping of the helicopter blades overhead that warned. The chopper event, for which I had completely neglected to plan. Maybe if I had seen it coming, I would have been able to plan a circle of my paths to keep leading them around. But as it stood, I was a sitting duck with no plan B. So I rushed from my bedroom to gather my strength and prepare for a fight like none I had yet faced. You know, somehow it always feels like in the matrix of planning that is Project Zomboid, something always falls through the cracks. And that crack widens into a yawning, gaping maw that swallows you up. It's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong, will go wrong. And as I wrestled my car into ignition, the folly of planning became clearly evident right in front of me. In Project Zomboid, as well as in real life, everything, no matter how masterful an ambition or meticulously planned, will come to a grisly end. Perhaps the best thing you could do is accept it with grace. We'll do better next time, leaving a mark on the wall. As Shelley once said, "Behold my works, ye mighty, and despair." 7 days and 10 hours, 437 zombies killed. And then, I joined the writhing gray masses of those who had come before. The joy of life comes when you surrender to your fate. Only then can you really savor it, maybe. Anyway, I'm Ambiguous Amphibian. A big thanks to my patrons, who for a small fee can live forever in the credits of these videos. I do hope you enjoyed. Again, the Tile Man mod is in the description. Go check it out if you want to try this for yourself. Until next time, my friends.